Now it's time to break it.
Welcome back to the SplitScreeners podcast. My name is Nick, joined as always by my co-host Gavin.
Hello.
Aaron.
Woohoo.
Zach.
What's up?
In this episode, we're going to be talking about sports. We got some big stuff. If you saw our last sports episode, we went over the AFC and the NFC West. Did a little breakdown on those divisions in the NFL, so we're going to be doing the AFC and the NFC East in this episode. We'll, of course, be going over our NASCAR results to see whose driver did the best this week. WrestleMania is coming up next weekend. We're going to do predictions on that. We are down to the Final Four in college basketball, so we'll talk about that for a little bit. So let's hop right into it, and we'll get into the one that I think the least of us at this table care about, and that's NASCAR.
NASCAR!
We had the NCS Echo Park Automotive Texas Grand Prix in Austin, Texas.
Crap, that's a mouthful.
Ross Chastain was the winner. As far as our races are concerned, Zach is Kevin Harvick. He placed 11th. Aaron is Brad Keselowski. He placed 14th. I am Kyle Busch. Placed 28th.
Damn.
Gavin is Bubba Wallace. He placed 38th. So,
Bubba Wallace.
none of us got in the top 10.
He raced
which
like
sucks,
dog
but-
shit.
Dog shit.
Bubba Wallace.
If you'd like to know that reference, go back to an earlier episode.
Yeah, a very early sports episode.
First
on our
second.
page.
We are down to the Final Four in college basketball. At least the three of us filled out a March Madness practice. Aaron wasn't here, so he wasn't able to get one filled out, but that's all right.
Yeah, when I got the memo, it was already closed. I sat there for 45 minutes trying to register before finally realizing, oh, it's because time zone and it's done.
Because we all sucked, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
We are down to Duke, North Carolina, Villanova, and Kansas. I don't have a single team left, so I am at a max point of 490, which is sad. Gonzaga, UCLA, Arizona, and Iowa State were the four that I picked. For Zach, he still has a chance to win. He's at 400 points now. He could get up to 560 depending on if Kansas beats Villanova in the Final Four. But he had Boise State, Baylor, Arizona, and Kansas. Kansas was the only one that made it for you. And then Gavin at 310, and he is at the max. He had UConn, North Carolina, who did make it, Colorado State, and Richmond. So none of us did great.
No, I'm so good.
I started off really well. Too.
You did.
The first day or two, I was killing it in points.
I remember looking at it and be like, all right, I'm 100 something. Holy crap, Nick's at 4 something.
The craziest ones were St. Peter's. They were a 15 seed. They made it all the way to the Elite Eight, which is wild. They just went on a great run. They did lose to North Carolina by 20 points. North Carolina is an 8 seed. They made it. Outside of that, I mean, Duke's a 2 seed. Villanova's a 2 seed. Kansas is a 1 seed. So kind of all expected. But North Carolina being in there at an 8 seed is super cool. I love UNC. That's my college basketball team because of Michael Jordan. Basketball playoffs are going to be starting soon. We talked about that a little bit on the last episode, April 10th. I think there's 7 games left roughly for each team. So we're getting close to the basketball playoffs starting, which I'm super excited for. And then WrestleMania, like I said, that's coming up this weekend. I don't know the full match card. Obviously, there could still be a couple things added this week, but we will go over and make our predictions for the matches that have been announced. We'll see who gets the closest. Whoever gets the closest will be the WWE fake championship belt holder until I get a
Until we get a real one.
So we'll start day 1. We have the Raw Women's Championship match, Becky Lynch versus Bianca Belair. Zach, we'll start with you.
We go with our gal here, Lynch.
Becky. Aaron?
Who was it?
Becky Lynch and Bianca Belair.
Lynch. Belair, I guess, just to have some competition.
I am also going to go Bianca with you. This has kind of been a thing. Becky Lynch returned at SummerSlam last year, stole the belt from Bianca Belair in 6 seconds or something like that, came out, hit her finishing move on her, pinned her, and it's been like this whole road to redemption thing for Bianca Belair. I think she ends up winning the title back. Although I love Becky Lynch with the title. Mm-hmm. Becky Lynch is one of my favorite women wrestlers. The Miz and Logan Paul versus Rey and Dominic Mysterio. Zach.
Rey Mysterio.
Zach is going Mysterios. Aaron?
I am also, because I can't support that piece of shit.
Like, you almost had me at the Miz, and then you said Logan Paul. I'm like,
yeah,
well,
that's Logan Paul.
he's almost there with MGK with me.
The Miz and
Yeah, they're
Logan
both
Paul
terrible.
versus Rey and Dominic Mysterio.
Mysterios.
All right. I'm going to be the only one getting points from this match because I'm going The Miz and Logan Paul. Very rarely does WWE bring famous people in to lose.
Okay. Did you watch it last time?
Yeah, did you not watch Jackass guy get thrown out?
Hey, he's
I
still...
can't remember his name right now.
he wasn't going to win the Royal Rumble. But like in one-on-one... they don't lose a whole lot. Drew McIntyre versus Happy Corbin.
Happy.
Drew.
I don't know who the fuck Happy is, but
How do you spell McIntyre?
McIntyre.
One more time.
McIntyre.
Tyre.
I'm also going McIntyre. It's been another storyline that they've been building up. I always expect that at WrestleMania is when we're going to kind of come to a close on a lot of these storylines that have gone on for the last few months, since this is the biggest show, culmination of everything. Drew McIntyre and Happy Corbin. This storyline feels like it's been going on forever. I'm excited for it to be over. I think McIntyre wins. Smackdown Tag Team Championship match. The Usos versus Rick Boogs and Shinsuke Nakamura.
Shinsuke.
Oh, I gotta go
Usos.
Shinsuke. I was gonna go Usos, but
Nakamura's a badass.
I like Nakamura. So I'll root for him.
It's weird how the two.
Zach, you said Usos?
Yep.
This one's hard for me. There's part of me that believes that what they're going to do at WrestleMania is take the belts off of the bloodline, which would be the Usos and Roman Reigns, and have the storyline going into this new wrestling year as them trying to get the titles back. Part of me also believes that they aren't going to take the title off of Roman, which means they aren't taking the title off the Usos. So I'm going to go with the Usos. Edge versus AJ Styles.
Edge.
I go with the Edge. Not because Aaron
Again.
did it, but I like him better.
Edge versus AJ Styles.
AJ.
He's got style.
I gotta go with the new blood.
This was kind of a match, like, they don't have a storyline really going on. Match kind of thrown together just so they could have two of their bigger stars in the WrestleMania pay-per-view, obviously. In the last WWE draft, which happened last year, Edge was taken really high, in my opinion, being that he is an older wrestler, and I don't know how much lift he has in the tank. But I don't think you draft him that high to have him lose to AJ Styles, so I think Edge gets the win. SmackDown Women's Championship match, Charlotte Flair versus Ronda Rousey.
You
This
know.
is Zach's favorite.
They're both terrible. Well, alright, Flair.
Flair.
Just fuck Ronda. Even though they aren't paying her to come and lose.
Oh, I thought you were still waiting for me to answer. You already know the answer to that one. I hate Flair.
He's going Flair.
Fuck Flair.
I'm with you. I'm going Ronda. Aaron's right. They don't pay her to lose.
No, she's...
They've portrayed her as this beast of a
You
character.
know, switch my vote, because I said that, but I
I'm
just
staying on it. I'm
I-
staying on for the wild
I
card.
do not want her to win, but she will.
Yes,
I
she
do
will.
kind of want her to win because I kind of like her, but
Yeah, I do not.
I don't know what this is going to turn into. I think
Oh,
it's
I
going to
do
be a
that
full
one.
flood match. But Stone Cold, Steve Austin, Kevin Owens. I don't know if it's going to be a match or if they're just going to
you
brawl.
don't bring Stone Cold back to not have him win.
Well, they did this with The Undertaker.
I know.
He might get hurt and have to throw the match like Undertaker. Because he is old.
Stone Cold too.
But I'm going to go Stone Cold. Just 'cause
Yeah,
I feel like they bring
I
him.
feel like if you're bringing them back, they've got to win.
this
This will make the older fans happy.
Yeah.
this almost made me buy tickets to go to see the show just because I want to see
Yeah.
Stone Cold that bad. And yeah, you're right. You don't bring him back to
No,
lose.
not somebody with that star power.
Unless there's an accident on stage.
Yeah,
Like
like Undertaker.
title versus title match. This is day 2. We are into day 2, so that was the end of day 1. Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar.
I know I'm going to be wrong, but Roman Reigns.
Normally, I always go Reigns.
Gavin? Roman versus Brock?
Roman.
Thank you, Gavin.
I'm just grabbing whatever Zach says.
Okay.
I'm joking.
Aaron?
I'm gonna go Roman,
Okay.
but I'm coming around to Brock.
This is
But
another
I still think Roman's gonna win.
This is another clean sweep. I'm also taking Roman. If I don't take the titles off the Usos, I'm not taking the titles off of Roman. And I don't think it's time for Roman's character. I really need Roman to get more cocky. I need him to face The Rock. I think that is going to
That'd
be
be great.
eventual, and then he will lose to somebody down the line. But I don't think it's just yet. Although, I do love Brock Lesnar.
I keep forgetting this couch is right here. And I look over, I'm like,
Surprised it hasn't fallen.
Two.
The Women's Tag Team Championship match. We have Queen Zelina and Carmella, one team. Naomi and Sasha Banks. Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan. Or Natalya and Shayna Baszler.
Morgan.
Rhea and Liv.
Ripley and who?
Ripley and Liv Morgan.
Go with them.
Liv. I'm going to go Naomi and Sasha Banks. This one I have no idea.
I don't know who hasn't been taken.
Queen Zelina and Carmella or
I don't know.
Natalya and Shayna
I'll
Baszler.
take Natalya.
Spread it out a little bit.
Yeah.
Pat McAfee versus Austin Theory. And I'm taking Pat.
Austin Theory.
Fucking McAfee.
Pat.
Pat.
Was he in that cage match with not Batista, Cardfed?
Brock Lesnar?
Yeah,
Who?
Theory.
I don't think so. Not that I remember. Theory or Pat McAfee?
Isn't Pat McAfee like? Isn't that the announcer?
Announcer guy.
Pat.
Pat. I love Pat McAfee. He was in a match in NXT, a couple matches in NXT last year. He showed off a lot of talent in the ring. Again, I think that they've built the storyline up to have Pat win, but it wouldn't surprise me if Austin Theory won. Sami Zayn versus Johnny Knoxville.
Johnny Knoxville.
Knox.
You don't
I'm gonna
bring
go
celebrity in to lose.
He always loses. He's gonna get kicked in the balls.
We just have too many people either coming in as celebrities or coming back. So we have Stone Cold, we've got
you
Johnny
can't have them all,
Knoxville,
man.
we've got Pat McAfee,
Ronda.
and then we've got,
Yeah, some of them have to lose.
and I think,
And I think.
but I think Johnny Knoxville will make this an entertaining.
Yes.
You were gonna say Logan Paul.
Logan Paul.
Yeah.
All right, for the Raw Tag Team Champions, we have RK Bro, which is Randy Orton and Riddle, versus the Street Profits versus the Alpha Academy.
Arcade Pro.
Who's the other two?
So the Street Profits is Angelo Dawkins and Montez Ford. And the Alpha Academy is Otis and Chad Gable. Shoosh!
All right. I'm gonna go RK.
That's Chad Gable's catchphrase. Shoosh!
Copycat.
The other one.
What other one?
We'll go shoosh.
The Alpha Academy.
Swish.
Just to make it a little different, I will take the Street Profits in this one. I don't know entirely what they're going to do. I don't think they take the titles off of Randy Orton Riddle because they just won them recently. But yeah, A couple extra matches that could be thrown on. We'll just throw these down here at the bottom just in case they do happen, because they have built them up. Finn Balor versus Damien Priest for the United States Championship.
I'll go
Damien
Priest.
Priest.
Way to copycat.
Finn Balor then.
Way to copycat.
How do you spell his last name?
Finn Balor. Balor.
B-A-
And then Seth Rollins versus Cody Rhodes, if that does happen.
Rollins. Go Cody. Fuck Seth.
I'm gonna keep this Rollins.
I'm taking Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes, for those that don't know, was one of the people that left WWE to start AEW. He has now left AEW, and he has come back to WWE. Apparently, I don't know if this match happens for sure. Seth Rollins has put out an open challenge, so somebody's going to answer that this week. A lot of people think it is going to be Cody. If he does, it should be a great match.
Awesome.
All right. That just leaves us with our divisional breakdowns. I didn't write anything like I did last time. I felt like that might have been a little bit too scripted out. Just trying to follow off of what I wrote on there. So I'm just going to break down some team signings for each team, talk about what I think they'll focus on in the draft, see how good they're going to do. So we're going to start with the Buffalo Bills since we're going in order. Biggest thing that the Bills did is they did sign Von Miller to a 6-year deal, which I think actually translates into a 3 or a 4-year deal. That was just so they could spread out the money a little bit. This is one thing that I think Buffalo's definitely been missing is that pass rushing, that dominant pass rushing presence. Buffalo's a team that's right there on the cusp of winning a Super Bowl. I think Von Miller definitely steps in and helps that out. A couple other contracts that I really like that they signed. Roger Saffold comes in to play some guard on a 1-year deal. Tim Settle, who I think is an underrated defensive tackle, comes in on a 2-year deal. They re-signed Mitch Morse, and they signed O.J. Howard to a 1-year contract. O.J. Howard was dominant for the Bucs for the longest time until they brought in Rob Gronkowski. Then he kind of fell to the wayside. So now he gets to come to Buffalo, a team where they need more weapons. I think O.J. is going to be a beast. Outside of that, they haven't made any huge moves. I like the signing of Jamison Crowder quite a bit. He's going to come in and replace Cole Beasley, who they released. I think Sanders might also be gone. So this is going to be a new-look Buffalo team, but a Buffalo team that's still going to be very good. A Buffalo team that I think wins this division with them, New England, the Jets, and the Dolphins in it. And it won't surprise me if they make a run even to the Super Bowl. I see them winning somewhere between probably 12 to 14 games. So then we'll go to Miami.
Tyreek.
Biggest thing, yeah, that's the biggest thing. And it's something that happened literally the day after we recorded last week for the AFC West. So I talked about in the AFC West thing that the Chiefs, as long as they have Patrick Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, and Travis Kelce, will be dominant. Then the next day they go out and they trade Tyreek Hill to the Miami Dolphins. I think they got 5 picks in exchange for him. This is huge. You don't see... I mean, this offseason in general has been one of the craziest I've ever seen as a fan. So many players have gotten traded. Russell Wilson, Tyreek Hill, Khalil Mack, Deshaun Watson got traded to the Browns. We'll touch on that in a couple weeks when we do our AFC North rundown. The Miami Dolphins are much improved with this move. Tyreek Hill is one of the fastest football players on the planet. And Tua is very good at that short passing game, which is what he's going to take advantage of. This offense is so speedy now with Tyreek, Jalen Waddle. You still have Devontae Parker, Will Fuller, Mike Gesicki, and the running backs. They brought in Raheem Mostert and some other running backs back there that are just going to make this offense super fun, where Tua might only pass the ball for 8 yards, but somebody has the ability to take off for 50 every time they get their hands on the ball. They also went out and they signed Teron Armstead to a 5-year deal. Teron Armstead injured the last couple seasons for the Saints, hasn't been able to play a full season, but still one of the best left tackles in football. Absolute monster. They shore up what is probably their biggest weakness on their team in left tackle with Teron Armstead. Outside of that, I don't see a whole lot. Like I said, Raheem Mostert signed to a 1-year deal. Teddy Bridgewater is now the backup, the old quarterback for the Broncos last season. So not a whole lot of other moves for him. I still think Miami's going to be a much better team. They've improved little over little the last couple seasons. Tua's going to be another year of experience with new weapons. I don't know if I see Miami as a playoff team necessarily.
Oh, they're going all the way.
All right. I mean,
Anything can happen.
I wouldn't be mad at Miami winning it all for sure.
They deserve it.
But still a team that I think can be dangerous, win anywhere from 8 to 11 games roughly. I know that's a little bit of a big gap there, but it's gonna really come down to how much of a connection these players are gonna have, especially Tyreek with Tua Tagovailoa. Next up is the New England Patriots.
Do have stuff for this one.
Okay.
Malcolm Butler is returning to the Patriots on a 2-year deal.
Okay.
Butler did not play during last season and was rumored to be considering retirement. With the news of Butler returning, some hope to see Stephon Gilmore return for an NFL reunion. Entering the draft, and Nick, correct me if I'm wrong, Patriots need to be looking for a cornerback, interior offensive line, receiver, and a linebacker. Mm-hmm. From what I've read, this team usually likes to enter the draft with all positions kind of filled. Gives them a little bit of flexibility to grab the next best player in line.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of always been Bill Belichick's philosophy as long as he's been in New England. Because I always think that he's the one calling the shots up there, just because he's been there for so long. And sometimes New England, and we're going to do a mock draft in a couple weeks, probably right before the draft, we'll do a mock draft on here. That might just be a separate episode maybe instead of our regular sports episode. But Bill Belichick loves taking players that he thinks are good fits, whether other people might see them as a first-round talent or maybe a third-round talent, he doesn't care. If he sees that they're a fit and he thinks that they're going to work in his offense or his defense, he'll take them in the first round. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, he likes to have the skeleton first and then fill in the muscle.
And that's where they've succeeded. The problem is this New England team is not the New England team that had Tom Brady.
Yeah.
The reason why that drafting method worked for Bill Belichick and why free agency, the way they've done it, even this year, has worked is because they've had Tom Brady. And while I will argue with people that Tom Brady is not the greatest quarterback of all time, there's no arguing that Tom Brady is one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. And Mac Jones, while I like Mac Jones, the new quarterback for the Patriots, he is not Tom Brady. New England is one of those teams that kind of has me scratching my head because they haven't done a whole lot. Malcolm Butler, like you said, comes back, won them a Super Bowl, essentially. When they played Seattle, he was the one that picked off the pass from Russell Wilson to beat the Seahawks in that Super Bowl. Then he went other places, and just like a lot of players who leave New England, especially on the defensive side of the ball, they don't succeed in other systems. He didn't play as well in other systems. Now he comes back to New England. Hopefully he can have kind of a resurgence of a career. But they haven't done a whole lot else. I mean, they trade Shaq Mason away to the Buccaneers, one of their best interior offensive linemen, so he can go team back up with Tom Brady in Tampa Bay. All they get in exchange is a 5th-round pick, which is a little bit of a head-scratcher. Outside of that, they've just re-signed some players. Brian Hoyer, Nick Folk, Matthew Slater. I think that this is going to be a down year for the Patriots. And my hatred towards the Patriots has now kind of dissipated since Tom Brady has left. I know that most of my hatred for that team came from Tom Brady himself. So this has nothing to do with the fact that I want them to not succeed. It just comes down to they haven't done enough, I think, to compete with what Buffalo's doing and what Miami's doing. This is a team that won't surprise me if they win 6 to 8 games. Don't make the playoffs, kind of are towards the bottom of the division. Even the Jets, I think, have done more to make themselves better than New England has this offseason. Speaking of the Jets, that is our last team in this division, and then we'll get into the NFC East. Okay. For the Jets, they've done a couple things that I'm a huge fan of. Let me scroll down here. They signed DJ Reed to a 3-year deal. They bring in CJ Uzoma, tight end from the Bengals. Tevin Coleman re-signs or restructures. Laken Tomlinson comes over from the 49ers. So they've just brought in pieces that none of the pieces that they've brought in, I think, are game-changing pieces. But what they're trying to do is they're trying to build around this young quarterback that they drafted last year in Zach Wilson. They drafted him early, and they want to give him the tools to succeed. So they've improved the offensive line. They've improved the defense as much as they can, and they're going to build through the draft. I think they have 2 picks in the top 10 in the draft, so that's going to be a huge improvement for them. Still not a team I think makes the playoffs. I think that it goes Buffalo, Miami, and then New York and New England are right there on the outside of the playoffs. New York probably wins, 5 to 7 games. I think that you've seen improvement from Zach Wilson overall from what we saw last year, but still not a team that's going to blow people out of the water.
I think a little bit of what I was reading was that entering the draft, they're looking really hard at wide receivers.
Yeah, they're going to need to get more weapons. And I think that's one of the things that drives me nuts about these NFL teams is they bring in these quarterbacks and then they don't give them weapons. We saw that with Jacksonville last year. They draft Trevor Lawrence. He comes in. He doesn't have anybody great to throw to. I like Laviska Shenault. I like DJ Chark, but they aren't number 1 receivers, and that's the same problem New York has. New York has some receivers that I don't mind. Braxton Berrios. Somebody that they signed from the Titans last offseason that I can't remember the name. Corey Coleman. But they need that true number 1 weapon. I will not be shocked if they pick a receiver at 4, which I think is their first pick, or 10, which is their second pick. Super excited for the draft. I've been watching almost nonstop draft stuff for the past week. Other division that we're doing is the NFC East. Obviously, we'll just keep them the same. So this is Dallas, the Giants, the Washington Commanders, and the Philadelphia Eagles. We'll start with the Dallas Cowboys. Biggest head-scratching move here is that they traded Amari Cooper away for a 5th-round pick or a 6th-round pick. It doesn't make any sense to me. He was the best receiver on this team. They traded him away for nothing. And I understand they don't have the money to pay him beyond this year, but he was under contract for this year, so I don't understand why you would trade him away now when you have a quarterback in Dak Prescott who obviously loves having Amari Cooper there. They did re-sign wide receiver Michael Gallup to a 5-year contract. Guess he's supposed to come in and be that replacement. They have CeeDee Lamb. They have Michael Gallup. They'll probably take a receiver early-ish in the draft, 2nd or 3rd round, probably to come in and be that 3rd guy. What the hell? Outside of that, they re-signed Leighton Vander Esch. They re-signed DeMarcus Lawrence. They tried to re-sign Randy Gregory, who's now a Denver Bronco. We talked about that on the last sports episode. So they're just trying to bring pieces back. This is a team that's going to need offensive line help. Early in the draft, that's all I would be doing, is getting offensive line help for Dak Prescott. It still needs some help on the defensive side of the ball, although they are much improved over where they were last season. Overall, this is still one of the weaker divisions in the NFL. I mean, you have Dallas. I think Philadelphia will get better with Jalen Hurts. Washington will get better. I don't know about New York for the Giants. I could see Dallas still winning 11 to 13 games and making the playoffs again in true Dallas fashion, probably losing early in the playoffs. Who's next? New York, Philadelphia, Washington. So the New York Giants. Nope, not New Orleans. New York Giants. Biggest thing with New York is that they're rumored to be wanting to trade a lot of their pieces. So like Saquon Barkley, who has been injured and hasn't been able to stay healthy, is still a stud running back. They're looking to trade him away. They're sticking with their quarterback, they say, for another season, Daniel Jones. I don't know how good of an idea that is. In my mind, Daniel Jones has kind of proven that I don't know if it's that he doesn't have it. I just don't think that New York is the right fit for him. Maybe if he went to an offense that surrounded him better with weapons and were able to help him more, he might be able to succeed, but not in New York. And they haven't done a whole lot this offseason, I think, to make the team any better. They did sign Mark Lewinsky and John Feliciano, so he's got 2 better guards, which are going to help on the offensive line. Still don't know about his weapons a whole lot at receiver. I know that Sterling Shepard's still there, who I like a lot. Hasn't been the same over the last couple seasons as he was early in his career. There's a team that, like Dallas, still needs to focus on the offensive line. I think getting a tackle early in the draft. And just like the Jets, it's funny, the 2 New York teams have 2 picks early in the draft. I think New York, the Giants, have like pick 5 and 7. So they have 2 picks super early. They're going to need help at edge rusher. I think that's where they go first in the draft. Someone like Kayvon Thibodeau. And then with that second pick in the first round at pick 7, maybe they take an offensive lineman to help Daniel Jones. You still need to get more receivers for him. Another tight end, maybe Trey McBride in the 2nd or 3rd round. Probably 2nd. And if you're going to get rid of Saquon, you got to find a replacement for Saquon. I still don't think the Giants are a playoff team. I commend them for sticking with Daniel Jones to see what they have in him for another season. This is a team that, like the Jets, probably 5 to 7 games. Wouldn't surprise me. They'll definitely win a couple. They definitely have the talent to win a couple games, but not a team that's going to push for the playoffs. And then we got the Philadelphia Eagles. Philadelphia Eagles, much improved. Jalen Hurts is what we saw last year. Jalen Hurts, I know that I've seen a lot of people kind of downplay how well he played last year, but I think Jalen Hurts played pretty well last season. It kind of reminded me of what Lamar Jackson did in Baltimore, especially early on in his career. He's fast. He's got a decent arm. He's just got to keep improving as far as becoming a passer. They did sign Hassan Reddick to a 3-year deal. One of the best pass rushers available in free agency. He's going to come in and silly help. I'm trying to think. I can't think of anybody else that they really signed. I mean, they've signed, a few players here and there, but Hassan Reddick's kind of your big one. They re-signed Fletcher Cox. They re-signed Derek Barnett, so they brought some guys back. They have good weapons around him. They have a decent offensive line that they're going to need to maybe work on a little bit. I think they have 3 picks in the top 20. I think they have like 15, 16, and 19. So, I mean, they're going to get a lot of help, especially if they stay put and don't trade, which I would recommend. Keep all 3 of those picks. Bring in 3 guys that can come and help this team that isn't far away from making a playoff push. So, Philadelphia won't surprise me if they win 9 to 11 games. They're right there with Dallas as far as who's going to win that division. Would surprise me if they make a deep run in the playoffs, but, if they win a wild card game and maybe the divisional round, I wouldn't be shocked. A good Philadelphia team. This is a Philadelphia team that was in the playoffs with Carson Wentz a few seasons ago, won a Super Bowl with that other quarterback that looks a lot like John Heater. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. But they won a Super Bowl with their backup quarterback. So this is a team that was good, and they know how to get there. They just got to work on getting back there. And then last team is the Washington Commanders. Biggest news coming out of Washington, they have a name. We no longer have to call them the football team. Although I'm not a fan of the Commanders.
I do like that name, though.
I do not like that name.
It's a pretty bad name.
I do love the idea of calling them the Washington Commies. That's probably my favorite thing.
They are a red team.
Biggest thing for Washington, they traded for Carson Wentz from the Indianapolis Colts. They gave up a few picks to bring Carson Wentz in. Carson Wentz, for as much shit as people talked, didn't play horribly in Indianapolis last season. I understand that they had a falling out towards the end of the season and they missed the playoffs, which they shouldn't have because they started so great. But I don't know how much of that was Carson Wentz's fault directly. He's going to come on a Washington team, automatically be the starter. I like their backup in Taylor Heineke quite a bit. They bring in players like Andrew Norwell on a 2-year deal. J.D. McKissick almost left, was going to sign with Buffalo, comes back and signs with Washington to come back. They have... I want to say pick 11 in the draft. I think their biggest need is receiver. If you're going to bring in Carson Wentz, you want to give him weapons to succeed, and they do have Scary Terry McLaurin on one side, absolute beast of receiver. I'm excited to see what he can do with Carson Wentz out there throwing on the ball. Get him somebody else. I like Drake London from USC a lot. He's big body, 6'4", 220-something. Good big-bodied receiver. You could also look at either of the receivers from Ohio State and Chris Olave or Garrett Wilson. This is a team with still a great defensive front, good defense overall. Wouldn't surprise me if they won 8 to 10 games. Even if Washington made a push as one of the better teams in this division, it wouldn't surprise me. I just don't see how they beat out Philly or Dallas currently. I love what's happened in this offseason. We have seen so much change, and the casual fan who watches football every Sunday but probably doesn't pay attention during the offseason is going to be shocked when they turn on their TV for the first game this season, because there's so many different people everywhere. Every team is dramatically different. Even the teams that didn't sign a ton of players, like New England, is still going to look so much different than it did last season. And it's super exciting going into this year. I don't want to say lost the love for football last season, but I don't know if it had anything to do with Denver not being as good, because I've had seasons where Denver wasn't as good and I was still interested in football. I think what it was is that it was just boring. I didn't have anything to root for, and I don't know if it's the podcast. I think the podcast definitely has something to do with it, but it's also just how exciting this offseason has been. And I don't remember the last time I've ever been this into football. I'm doing mock drafts daily. All I'm watching on YouTube is football stuff. I'm reading news on every team. I'm so invested and back in, and it feels so good to have that passion back for football again. So yeah, I'm super excited for the season. I know I'm going to be wrong on some of these teams, and if you're a fan of any of the teams that I've talked about in this episode in the AFC or the NFC East, and you think I'm wrong, feel free to roast me in the comments, because, there might be things that I'm missing that I just haven't picked up on. But next week we are going to do the AFC and the NFC South, so that'll be the Houston Texans, Jacksonville Jaguars, Indianapolis Colts, and the Tennessee Titans. And then in the NFC South, we got the Saints, the Falcons, the Buccaneers, and the Panthers. So we're going to go over those 8 teams, and then we'll do the North last. That'll be in 2 weeks. We're going to do mock drafts for a week or two, and then it'll be the draft. And then it's going to be on to off-season workouts and stuff like that. We'll see where the rest of these free agents fall. We still have big names out there. Stephon Gilmore, you brought up. Tyrann Mathieu is still out there. Bobby Wagner. There's still some big names that are going to be signed probably after the draft at this point. But just stay tuned. If you enjoyed anything that I've been talking about, please stay tuned, because there's just going to be more to come. And once the season starts, I'm super excited. We all have our teams that we can all kind of root for, and we can bet on. We'll do fantasy football. We'll start that up probably in August. We'll do a draft for fantasy football. So stay tuned for all of that. If you have enjoyed, like I said, anything, please like, comment, and subscribe. Follow us if you're new. Turn on that notification bell. Thank you to everybody that watched, and it is time to split!